So I am joined today by Erin Lee, a creative entrepreneur, growth coach, and longtime leader in the global business community. With over 35 years of experience in marketing, brand strategy, and business growth, Erin has helped leadership teams across industries scale with clarity, creativity, and purpose. He's the founder of SIXQ, a strategic coaching practice, and a certified Bloom growth coach, where he works with fast growing and high potential companies to align their teams, simplify execution, and unlock transformational results. He also serves as chairman of the board for Mirth and Mischief Productions, an immersive fantasy entertainment company blending storytelling and experience design. Erin previously founded and led Iluma Agency, a franchise-focused marketing firm recognized 4 times on the Inc. 5000 list. In addition to his coaching and creative leadership, Erin has served for more than a decade as a global leader in the Entrepreneurs Organization, the EO, where he currently chairs the Global Strategy and Planning Council. He's a passionate advocate for creativity as a tool for transformation, which is what we are talking about today, which is so exciting. Welcome, Erin.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's funny to kind of hear your bio back at you sometimes. Like, wow, yeah, I guess I did all those things.
Yes, it can very much be when you're in it, you're not really thinking about it. And then when you get that moment to step in your back, and you're like, wow, all right, good job, me. I did a lot of cool things. Well, I am so excited to have you today. I'm honored that I am able to share some time with you today and chat about creativity, which I think is so exciting. And I think it's always relevant to the times, but especially right now, where I think it seems like a lot of people are maybe trying to figure out what does creativity mean to me now, especially with the way that the world is changing. How can I continue to be creative? So I would love to start by hearing a little bit about what creativity meant to you when you were a child.
Yeah, I don't think I had a label for it. I just liked to express myself and mostly through drawings, right? Like that was my sort of chosen thing, and my parents just really encouraged it. They reinforced it, and so uh, it was just something fun for me to do. It wasn't like to get something done. It was just a fun thing to do, and then so I just kept doing it over and over, and started to like identify as an artist and as a creative person as I got older, and people would say, hey, you're really talented, you should pursue a career in creativity, and that just kind of never ended, right? It just kind of snowballed from one thing to the next. And but I think early on it was just external signals that this was a way that I could like show up in the world and be my own identity, and for me it was just a way to have fun, right? Like I loved drawing and painting and sketching and all that kind of stuff. And so and I think for me um when Star Wars came out, I was young, for the original trilogy, and when I realized that like people made that, right, that wasn't just like, there were people who actually did that work, and it was, I think that was inspiring to me as, oh, this is a thing you can do in life. Like you can actually just do that as a job and be a creative person when you're an adult. And so I think that was one of those formative things for me early on, of like realizing it was more than just something fun to do. You could actually make money and like have a career around it.
Yeah, it sounds like you, creativity was just part of life. And then
Right.
as you grew up and as your sort of awareness almost of what it is to be, you know, a teenager and then an adult, as you grew, your relationship to creativity grew as well. And it sounds like it wasn't something that necessarily got left behind in childhood, but it was able to grow and
Yeah.
evolve with you.
Yeah. And it's funny because I never felt like I had something special. It was just what I did. And um, I think as I grew older, I realized that you know, um, not everybody had that same experience, right? And for me, in high school is where I really learned like the to refine the skills I had around it, and more like the artistic skill set. But one of the things that I've always believed is that creativity and artistic ability are actually separate things. And it's one of the things as I've gotten into becoming an adult, and that's what I'm really passionate about now, is this idea that people think if they weren't born with some artistic talent, then they're not also creative. And I think they're totally unrelated. I think I can teach someone to draw at whatever age if you just learn something, just like you could learn how to play an instrument. The art happens when you blend creativity with whatever skill you have, right? Like the art is the middle part of that, whether it's singing or designing anything, right? Like it does not, for me, creativity and art is staring at some thawed chicken in the sink at 6 o'clock at night and having no plan and going, well, what if we did this or that, right? And all of a sudden a meal, comes out of that.
Yeah, it sounds like um, a lot of the creativity is sort of just playing the what if game and just kind of
Yes.
letting yourself explore, like leaving an open-ended question. It's almost like improv, like a yes and sort of thing.
100%. I just gave a talk on creativity to a group of people, and those were some of the exact themes that we talked about. And we actually did an improv exercise. And I think one of the things that I've come to realize is that fundamentally creativity isn't a skill, it's a state of mind.
Ooh.
And it's the state of mind of play that when you're really playing like a child, there's no consequence, there's no failure. You're just, and that's that improv mentality, right? Where it's like there are no bad answers to move the story along. Everything moves the story along. And I think as adults, we've become so conditioned to consequence that we've forgotten how to play. And I think it's in that state of play that creativity, that's where creativity actually happens. It's that freedom to just have ideas and say them out loud and try things. That's to me the essence of creativity.
Yeah, so interesting. I love the concept of creativity as a state of mind. I would love to hear a little bit about, I feel like obviously the world is what it is right now. And so I'm curious when you're working with people specifically around their creativity, what are some ways that I'm connecting in my brain, the world is difficult. And I think that there are some people who can get so stuck in the inability to play and they take everything quite seriously, almost to a detriment. There's a time to be serious, of course, but there's also time to play. And so I'm curious if you ever interact with people who have maybe left, sort of almost walked away from the ability to be creative, and sort of if there are any steps or any recommendations that you have to sort of walk them back towards feeling a little bit more
Yeah.
comfortable being creative.
It's such a good question. And I'll share a quick story that kind of explains that is as I started to really think about this idea of creativity, helping people kind of get reconnected to their creative abilities. Um, I did a lot of research trying to figure out like, well, is it just my idea? Is it some crazy idea I had? Am I right like in pursuing? And what I actually found was there was a study done in the late 60s by NASA, commissioned this when they were trying to solve the Apollo mission and all the, thousands of problems they were dealing with. They had 400,000 people working on the Apollo mission, and they knew that they needed really creative, innovative people to help them move through these problems where they were getting stuck on a daily basis. Very professional, serious engineer, science, linear thinking people. They needed super creative people in those rooms. And so they hired this guy, George Lant, to design this test for creative genius. And so he tested as a control group a bunch of 5-year-olds. So he took like 1,500 5-year-olds randomly, and he took 1,500 NASA scientists and engineers, and he ran them side by side. He found that the 5-year-olds passed his test as creative genius 98% of the time. 98% of the time. And the NASA scientists and engineers passed at 2%. So he kept testing the same 5-year-olds every 5 years. By 10 years old, that 98% was down to 30%. By 15 years old, that group had gone down to 12%. And by the time they became adults, they were all at 2%. And so
Wow.
the realization that he had was that creativity isn't learned, it's unlearned. So we were all born create with this creative genius potential, and we've unlearned it because school is all about productivity, about following a script, following this linear thinking, and society doesn't reward play. We reward getting things done. And so what we're biased toward, and our brains have gotten hardwired to this as we grow up, is the first idea is the one to go and execute. Like we immediately go into execution mode as soon as we have any idea. And so that improv, that permission to play has been so diminished that we just go right to whatever gets us to productivity as fast as possible. And so the idea is to give yourself enough time to play and not have one thought and then just race towards getting out of that space, but actually like indulging in it, like giving yourself the freedom to just be there. And play can look a lot of different ways. It doesn't have to be like play a game. I actually think games oftentimes get in the way of play. Like Monopoly is at play. It's leveraging, it's a win-loss thing, right?
Yeah.
Playing an open-ended game where there really isn't a winning state, it's just playing for playing's sake. That's to me what I try to encourage people to do. And you can watch somebody doing something creative, you can try something that you're likely to fail at, you can and sometimes it's space too, right? So sometimes you have to have the right space to give yourself, like if you're uncomfortable with play and you don't want to do it in front of other people, close the door, put some music on, and dance in your office. Like, just like kind of let it rip a little bit. And
Mhm.
so, whatever that expression is that gives you that freedom of being silly or just being willing to try something and not worry about whether it's going to work or not. I think that's the access.
I love that. And that's so the point about time. I think that that is so interesting too, because I know that that's something I've personally fallen into is like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
like, I've given myself, this is my 10 minutes to be creative. And sometimes that's enough, but sometimes it's not. Sometimes I feel so much pressure on myself because I've given myself just a teeny sliver of time that I've put almost rules on it because I've said, oh, I can
Yeah.
only do what I can do within this set amount of time.
And I think I also help people think about it from like the way that they approach exercise. They have an
Mhm.
outcome that they want that's not going to happen because they did one workout, right?
Mhm.
It's the repetition of it, but it's also you're going to a space that's dedicated for exercise, whether you've got push-up bars on the floor or you're actually going to a gym or a yoga studio or something. There's a space to do that work. You're setting aside time for it, and maybe you're giving yourself like maybe rather some days you can only do some push-ups and sit-ups because you're traveling and the time and the space is a hotel room and it's 10 minutes. But other times, but we're very comfortable with that idea of creating this habit around our health and well-being around exercise. Well, what if we took that same approach to our creativity, and that some days you're only going to have 10 minutes, but some days you could spend 30 or 45 minutes or an hour or whatever play looks like.
Mhm.
um, but it takes a commitment to the state of play, right? To be able to do that. And oftentimes creativity is, I think why it's been so sort of diminished in our society is this immediate gratification sort of, uh, you oftentimes because you played doesn't mean you're going to have a great idea.
Mhm.
You're going to play. You might have the idea that eureka lightning bolt out of the sky moment might come 2 weeks later, but it's the idea that you're getting your brain in a consistent state. Sorry, my alarm keeps going off. Um, but it's this idea that because you are starting to activate that neural network, the creativity flow state,
Mhm.
um, the idea might come disassociated from the time you're actually doing it, right? But it's
Mhm.
just the fact that your brain is starting to be in this regular state of openness.
Yeah, I think that the exercise analogy is really helpful too, because it's like, yes, however much time you spend, specifically focusing on working your muscles or doing cardio or whatever, that's just a sliver, but you're then prepping your body on how it's going to exist for the rest of the time that makes up the 24 hours, 48 hours,
Yeah,
whatever, until your next one. That is
yeah,
so interesting. I
yeah.
love that.
And so
Um,
we just have to exercise our mind to be more creative. That's really all it comes down to.
yeah, and it's so I'm super curious because where I kind of go to is like this stigma of kind of going back to the time thing of like, oh, well, I don't have time to be creative. I imagine that that's an argument that you get a lot when you talk about this
Yes.
work. Um, what are some of your like elev or what is your elevator pitch for someone who's like, I don't have time to be creative?
Uh, my response to that is every time you're stuck, ask what if 3 or 4 times. That it doesn't have to be like it's helpful to have dedicated time, but if you're not going to do that, just start adopting that approach to where you're feeling frustration or stuckness, that stop and just pivot to, instead of why me, what if, like, and whether, like I said, whether it's their kids come home from school and you're going to ask them how was their day and they're going to give you some generic, like, well, what if instead I asked them a different question? Or again, like, there's every day we're getting stuck all the time, and so that's just a simple way. But again, the ask is, don't ask what if one time, ask 3 or 4 times. Play improv with yourself, with your own brain, of like, well, what if I did this, and what if I did that, and what if I did that, and again, not to um it'll help you move through that moment of being stuck in a playful way, and you may or may not end up with a better idea or not. It doesn't really matter. But it's just that idea that you can create that moment whenever you're feeling like you just need to move through something.
I love that application to it can be as simple as getting a debrief from your kids when they come home
Right.
at the end of their school day. I love how because I think that that's something that happens too when people hear creativity, they sort of assume that it means one specific thing, and
Yes.
it really doesn't.
Yeah.
And
I literally, sorry, my favorite what if game is what I mentioned earlier, is what if, what's for dinner, right? And oftentimes I've got stuff in the cabinets and the fridge and in the pantry, and I've got some kind of maybe protein that I'm is like a base to work with. And my wife Lisa said to me, well, so this was a great what if dinner. We turned into Italian night or what, like, she knows that I'm playing this game all the time. And I don't always have time to sit down and draw and paint. Like, that's still something I, get satisfaction from. But for me to really get into that state of like flow with painting, I have to like really set aside time. But I can have just as much fun for 30 minutes in the kitchen coming up with, and then it's, a delicious dinner at the end. Hopefully, it doesn't always work out that way, but
I love that. And as someone who used to be a personal chef, that is one of my favorite ways
yes.
to to be creative is to look at what do I have in the kitchen? Okay, let's make something fun happen. Um,
Yeah.
this has been a fascinating conversation. I am personally feeling incredibly inspired and motivated. Um, and I would love to sort of close with if you have a fun example, either from your own life or something that maybe you've been told by someone that you have worked with, a fun experience of they have allowed themselves to play and then they realize as a result they got an interesting idea or sort of that eureka moment, like you were talking about. Could be something work related, could be beyond that, just something that clicked for them. But if you have a fun story that you're able to share.
Yeah, it's I it's fun and it was pretty impactful for me. This was about 15 years ago. I had my business for about 10 years, and I found myself in Positano, Italy, on a last day of a cruise, and I absolutely loved Positano as I got there. It was just, if you've ever been there, it's this beautiful cliffside Italian town on the Amalfi Coast, and just it was like this quintessential Italian coastal town experience. And when I was standing there with Lisa, and smell the cappuccinos getting made, and somebody's making sandals just below me, and it was just amazing. And I was super frustrated because I knew that the business that I had at the time wasn't going to allow me the kind of freedom to come back to Positano and enjoy it the way I had. Like 2 hours that day, and I wanted to spend a lot more time there. And I knew it was going to be a while. And when I came back, I knew I wanted to come back and spend a lot of time there. And again, it was one of those moments where I was feeling a little sorry for myself, and like, it should have, could have, would have been better. And I stopped, and I said, no. Instead of why me, what if? And I just started playing this what if game. And I turned to Lisa and I said, well, what if we came back here in 10 years and spent a few weeks here? And what if after the end of those few weeks, I could turn to you and ask you this one question: what if we spent a few more weeks here? Like, if I could make that kind of choice. And that was really the catalyst that had me change the entire business. And that's the thing that really unlocked the growth of the business, was just going in that one moment of feeling stuck and sorry for myself to opening up a world of possibility that really informed so many decisions for the next 10 years of my life.
That's incredible. Oh my gosh. And it's just that truly that one moment of, I'm just gonna think about this
Yeah.
a little bit differently.
And here's the cool thing, right? We didn't go back and spend 6 weeks in Positano, but now, so it doesn't always end up what you imagine it's going to look like. But what it did open up was a whole pathway and new sets of options. So I've spent the last 8 weeks traveling all over the world, doing all sorts of fun things. So like I'm living that Positano life. It just isn't the one that I imagined in that one moment, but it still opened up that world of possibility.
That's so cool. That is so incredible. What an awesome story. Oh my gosh. That is, I think, a beautiful ending and a perfect, if someone wasn't quite convinced on the power of creativity before, I
There
think
you
that
go.
that is the story that can sell them.
It's
Thank
not
you
about
so
art,
much.
people.
It's not all about art. No. Okay. This has been awesome. I have so enjoyed hearing about creativity and sort of the way that it can just, all these little ways that it can impact and change your life. And I'm so grateful to you for your time today. Thank you.
So much. I really enjoyed it as well too. I love to talk about it.
Yay. Are you ready to shift gears and move to the baker's dozen?
What if we did?
What if we did? All right. So the Baker's Dozen are 13 quick question and answers for the audience to get to know you a little bit better. And I'm super excited. I love the Baker's Dozen. Are you a morning person or a night owl?
Night owl.
Ooh, okay. Analog or digital?
Ooh, I think it's hard to stay analog in today's world. I'm gonna have to go digital.
Digital, yeah. What is your favorite part of your morning, even though you don't love mornings as much as nights? Coffee.
Coffee. First, coffee is my favorite part of the morning.
That's actually going to come up in one of my later questions. So hang on to that love
Okay.
of coffee. What is the best thing that you've eaten in the last week?
Ooh, let's see. Um, wow. I'm gonna go with trying to think of what I've eaten last week. Um, yeah, I'm gonna go with the dinner I made the other night, which was just again one of these moments where chicken in the sink and turned it into this really tasty chicken sandwich with onion jam and
Oh,
cheese and toasted on some everything bagels. It was just that was pretty good.
that sounds delicious. That sounds like an incredible what if meal.
It was definitely.
What advice would you give to your 10-year-old self?
Oh, just have fun. Just don't take it all so seriously.
That's good advice. Very similarly, what advice would you give to your 20-year-old self?
Um, you will find love again, and it'll be even better.
Oh, that's good advice. I think
Yeah,
20-year-old, all of us need that advice.
yeah.
What is your current coffee order?
My current coffee order, uh, Don Francisco drip coffee with vanilla stevia drops and a vanilla cream. Uh, that's what's in the cup. That's what goes in there.
Oh, that sounds delicious. Do you have a go-to karaoke song?
This one's gonna sound, yeah. Yeah. I've had this exact conversation with my son over dinner. We spent about an hour and a half talking about, you know, I'm not a very good singer. I've got a certain set of skills, but it's not vocaling.
That's the least
Uh,
important part of karaoke.
yeah. So it's Black Sabbath War Pigs.
Nice.
Yeah, a deep cut there.
I love that. Do you have a gadget that you can't live without?
I mean, I think the phone's the obvious one there. But if I had to go beyond that, hmm, no, I'm gonna go with a great pencil.
Ooh,
I, like a really good pencil. I actually, this is my current favorite, which is just a simple Papermate sharp writer. It's got the right lead eraser, everything, and I love the flexibility of having a pencil over a pen to change my mind.
I like that. And you like the eraser on the bottom because I feel like the eraser that the pencil comes with can really make or break the pencil
Yes,
experience.
yes. And I've tried a lot of mechanical pencils, and I'm telling you, this is just
That's
so
the
yeah. I
one.
just love to sketch and doodle and take notes with this thing all the time.
I love that. Do you have a good habit?
Do I have a good habit? Um, I tend to be someone who's I struggle with structure and discipline. So I have habits. Uh, I would say I have a good habit of play. Um, I do find time to play, not like in the middle of the day. I'll stop and take a play break, and sometimes it's a video game, but it's like it's that way for me to kind of reset and de-stress. And so I do have, I think, a healthy relationship with play.
I like that. What would be the title of your autobiography?
Um, Creativity isn't art; it's the art of living.
That's a good one. That's a really good one. What is a place you might be looking for one at this point, but what is a place that is on your travel bucket list?
Oh, I've got many. Uh, I'd say New Zealand,
Ooh.
Ireland, uh, Japan,
Mm,
and Antarctica is a curiosity. I don't know if it's fully on the bucket list, but we need to go there. So those are all places I haven't done yet.
I like that. Those sound good. All
I
right.
love to try.
And lucky number 13, what
Okay.
is the best advice that you have ever received?
Um, I'm gonna say it's parenting advice, and it was two things that there's a lot of things you can do, but the two most important things that I found, and what someone shared with me, is make sure your kids know that you love them unconditionally. You may not like what they're doing, and they might not like what you're saying, but let them knowing that you love them either way is huge. And two, teach them how to make a good from a bad decision for themselves, not the decisions you want them to make. So that
Mhm.
I can't always be with them, but if they can for themselves understand what's a good or bad decision for themselves, then they'll be able to be successful on their own in the world.
I love that. That's awesome advice.
Yeah,
Thank
it really
you.
was. Yeah,
And I feel like that's also very universal. I don't think you
yeah,
have to have kids to be able to take
it's
that
true.
advice.
Yes,
Well,
it
this
is.
this has been an incredible conversation. I am so inspired. And I'm sure that the people who are either reading along, watching along are also feeling very inspired. And if they are looking to connect with you further, where can they find you?
So yeah, easiest way would be right on my website, which is the6q.com. So it's the six questions. That's what my company is based on. So being curious, but yeah, so it's the6q.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Erin. This has been an incredible conversation, and I'm so grateful for your time.
Me too. Thank you. I love the conversation and the opportunity to share.
Awesome. Thank you.
Well, have a great day.
Thanks, you too.